You know, we talk a lot about my grandfather as the leader of this church, and he is a man that obviously took over his father and led this church ngamandla makhulu and established a lot for ibandla likamoya and became respected, and the church became respected ngenxa yomsebenzi wakhe. But we often forget when we talk about great men, these great men were not just great, they did not just become great. They became great because of the power of God, but they also became great because of the women that God gave to them. They also became great because of the women that God gave to them, and the women that prayed for them, that fed them, that supported them, that carried them in prayer, and the women that covered them. When they were exposed, the women that covered them. I say, when I talk about the women in my family, especially my grandmother, because that's the one that I lived with, even though ukhona uMandlovu wathwala inhlupheko zikaMqalisi. uMandlovu wathwala inhlupheko zikaMqalisi. When the church was being formed, it was actually formed in her womb. And she struggled a lot until she died in 1928, but she actually carried the church in her womb, literally as in physically, but also spiritually. And kwathi uMqalisi uma edlula uMandlovu wathatha uMahlatshwayo, I think 1931, 1932, roundabout. uMahlatshwayo carried the church, carried uMqalisi nento zonke, carried abantwana bakaMqalisi ayabathole kuMandlovu, gave uMqalisi isizwe. As he was struggling and carrying this ministry, this woman carried him and carried him in prayer and carried the church. Uma ibandla lithi kunomama kuze kuthiwe ukhona uMama Bezizwe, uMama Bezizwe alona intemu nje eliqhamukayo. It's because these women gave birth to the church spiritually, and they never became prominent leaders in the church, but they became prominent support. My grandfather, with all the struggles that he had in his life, was gifted with a powerful woman, powerful woman. And I say he was privileged to have married that woman. He was privileged to have married, that woman. It is not the other way. You would think, I was so privileged to marry, she married a man that was great, that grew to become great. Kube sengazuthi yena waba nenhlanhla. But in actual fact, because of the success of the ministry, and for the 49 years that she walked besides him, for the 49 years that she carried his name, for the 49 years that she carried, it's almost 50 years that she carried him until he died in 1995 and she died in 1996. She carried his cross and his ministry. And today, I want to share nebandla ukuthi after so many years kuyisifiso, the family is going to honor these women, these three women. It was something that has always been a prayer of mine, and it has always been a wish yami and nohlelo lwami, but we were intentional ukuthi, I've been good and the church has been good, and from the very beginning we could have said that the church should come together and help us to honor these women, but because of what it means for us as a family, and because what these women meant to us as a family, and all three of them, we wanted to do it ourselves as a family. And abaholi ngaphambili benzelwa inkonzo amatshe, and the family did not really play a big part at all in those, but for these women we wanted to do it ourselves. And I'm glad and honored today to say the family has managed to fulfill that wish. And kulonyaka, it was our plan to do it last year. In fact, we had planned to do it in August last year, ngelanga loMama, but because of the lockdown and everything, we couldn't do it. And so we are planning to do it this year at a date that is going to be communicated ebandleni. But I want to invite you as a church to share this moment with us. And to remember these women with us, and to remember what they are. You know my passion about women. Women have always been great, but women had never been acknowledged. oMama Bezizwe, ubukhulu babo nokubaluleka kwabo. They were always in the background. Nasemakhaya kuba umzali uyiqhawe, and mothers do so much and carry so much. And so, and it happens, you see it in politics. I read the story, Siga Mama Unoktela, again, Noktula, Unoktela Dube. Umama Unoktela Dube was married to Ulangalbalele Dube. And when you read the history and the stories of Mama Unoktela Dube, you actually realize how much of a hero she was. But she was never celebrated. She is not even celebrated in the struggle today because women never had a place in the struggle. It was women like oMama Winnie Madikizela-Mandela who fought for their name to be recognized, that became prominent. But there are many other women that carried this man, that kept the light on, that kept the flame on, that went to sleep with the deepest scars and the deepest secrets, Zalamatota Abo, but they carried this man. When you look at Martin Luther King's wife, Cora Scott King, and how she carried the legacy, unwavering, unrelenting, whatever is out there in the public, but she was unrelenting and unapologetic about who she is and how she stood next to him in times of war. These are women that remind us to never forget those who gave birth to us spiritually and morally. And so, Kulonyaga will be celebrating and honoring these women. The family had originally wanted to do it privately, partly because of COVID, but also partly because, especially my grandmother, she was a very, uMacele, she was a very, very quiet, discreet woman, never ever enjoyed the spotlight, did not want the spotlight on her. She did not recognize her own greatness, and remained in the background until the end. I will always have a memory of how she mourned my grandfather for a full year, and with all the cloud and everything that was happening, quietly, without complaining, quietly, without raising her voice, knew the covenant, knew the promise, knew that first love and that first word and what was deposited in her heart by God. And for 49 years, she remained faithful to that. And so my request to the family was, it cannot be private. In as much as there will be private moments, but it cannot be private because she did not marry him privately. And she led with him and supported him privately. She did not suffer in private. She suffered in public, and therefore she ought to be honored in public for all her work. Iy'nhlelo zonke nento zonke ukuthi kuyohamba kanjani and how we want to share the moment with you, but also keep certain things private in the family. Abagcotshwa will come out and share that with you. But it is not just her. Njengoba ngishilo sikhumbula umama uMandlovu owazala inceku umama uMandlovu wahamba ngo-1928 inceku yashiya iMenzelitshe, but did not unveil it and had instructed the family to do that after his demise, and the family never had the opportunity to do so. And so the family will be honoring her. And secondly, uMama uMahlatshwayo, ohambe ngo-1995, just a month before kuhamba kwenceku, and we never had an opportunity to do anything and to erect a tombstone to honor her, and similarly, no Mama uMacele. This is what I want to share with you, but I'm sharing all of this with you as an invitation, but as my own testimony in saying, these are the people that gave birth to me spiritually, and these are the people that gave birth to this church spiritually. May you never forget them. uNkulunkulu anibusise, uNkulunkulu abe nani ukuthula ebandeni elingcwele.